Lodo, how did we start Lodo? Well, actually, Lodo started way before the inception of Lodo. Lodo started with two guys who'd met in the northern quarter of Manchester, probably 2007, sometime around there.
I was running a creative agency, building websites and creative campaigns. And we were both from very different backgrounds, but we immediately got on really well.
We both had a love of food, coming at it from very different angles. I at the time was looking at a milkshake business, or wanted to start a milkshake business, and Ben was coming at it from a much more of an inventive kind of world. Ben was very much a food experimentalist, but we met in the northern quarter in Manchester, got on incredibly well, and the first time we engaged actually on a food project was with a product called the Manchester Egg.
As a sideline, I came up with something called the Manchester Egg, which is like a Scotch egg in the name of Manchester, black pudding around the outside. And over the coming weeks, the Manchester Egg actually took off, and before I knew it, everyone was talking about it, and I was getting calls from the Independent and the Guardian. So Rob stepped up and he said, look, we need to try and make a business out of this, get these eggs into more people's hands. So me and Rob first teamed up on working on the Manchester Egg back in 2010. It will have been, and we set up a market stall at the Manchester Food and Drink Festival, and people were queuing up buying these eggs, and we had no idea how to run a market stall, and there was chip fat going everywhere, and we were frying these eggs, and it was a right mess, but we got through it, and we had the biggest queue of the day, and that was our first taste of working together in the food industry.
The product itself was fantastic. It was an incredible write-up in the Independent, and we had a lot of fun with it, and I guess it got us both really excited about the possibilities of working together, but also about just the roller coaster fun and enjoyment of being in the food industry, because clearly you're dealing with something that talks to everybody. Not every product talks to everybody, but certainly everybody's got a view and an opinion of food.
After that had gone on, myself and Rob worked on that, and we sold them at Christmas markets, and that was a really good journey. But after a while, I was still running my business, and we couldn't find a way at the time with our experience and the time we had available to make the Manchester Egg really work. So we decided to park that project, and I went away on a bit of a career break and went traveling for 9 months. Around Southeast Asia, and really developed, really took a break and really refocused my career plan. And I came back, and I had nowhere to stay, so I came back and I was living with my mum and dad in this house and in this kitchen. Around that time, I put on quite a bit of weight. I'd been traveling, and now I was here having lovely home cooked meals made by my wonderful mother, and I put on weight quite quickly. And I thought, you know what, I'm only going to use this time living at home to really understand nutrition, understand my own body, and try and learn about nutrition, and try and lose some weight and feel healthier and happier. So I started following a low carb diet at that time, and I immediately found it worked really well for me. I was really enjoying how it made me feel. I was losing weight, I felt great, but I was continually getting frustrated about you can't have the convenience of a sandwich. I was eating salads all the time, and making great meals, but the convenience of just being able to grab and go a sandwich or a pizza just wasn't happening. And I started having this idea that there must be a way of changing the nutritional composition of these foods to make them more enjoyable, or making it possible to eat them on a low carb diet.
And Ben, I can remember Ben coming back from travelling. And at the time, Ben was unsure what he wanted to do next. He was weighing up his options, and we went for a walk in Northwich. He was living at his parents' house in Chester. And I can remember we were talking about food, and wouldn't it be great if we could eat pizza and lose weight. I just said to Ben, I said, look, get back in the kitchen, Ben, and start inventing again. That's where I knew him at his most creative and at his at his happiest, if you will, when he was tinkering around and trying to understand the dynamic of food and creation around food. So we went our separate ways, and I didn't have any real expectation at that point. And 3-4 weeks later, I got a phone call from Ben saying, I think I've cracked it. And I'm like, what? He said, eating pizza and losing weight. And I said, well, come on up.
And I set about over a 3-week period working every day in this kitchen. I was upstairs in my childhood bedroom, and I was working on recipes, and I'd come downstairs and I'd experiment with new ways of making sandwiches and pizzas. And I initially started working with traditional low carb recipes which replace flour with nut flours or seed flours, coconut flours. These things have got a lot of calories, a lot of carbs, but they still didn't have a lower calorie and they all fell apart. I then started taking a really reductionist approach and started eliminating these ingredients and seeing how much you could take away from the formulation to create something that worked. And I started realizing that fusing together protein in the form of egg white with hydrocolloid gels could create these new structures that showed loads of promise. So after a few more weeks of experimenting, I had a breakthrough moment when I brought back, I'd ordered various ingredients used in food science and food production off the internet, and actually hit on a really great eureka moment when I put together the konjac flour that I'd sourced with psyllium husk fibre and the egg protein using a process which remains a trade secret to this day, and was able to create this incredible tensile strength, this structure that when I peeled it from its baking paper and it came back when it came out the oven, I was just taken aback by the fact that this was just made with protein and fibre and had this tensile strength and this structure to it that was unlike anything else.
I remember him coming up, and he called it miracle dough at the time. We called it low dough sometime later, and it wasn't something necessary. It was like a chamois leather. It was this fusion of fibres and proteins and a really clever processing step that Ben had somehow managed to, build into this experimental set on his mum's kitchen table. But the genius of the idea was there. The prototype was there. The way that these fibres and proteins could be mixed together to create a substance, a foodstuff that was essentially a carrier of flavour. And it was immediately obvious that there was so much that could be done with this as a pizza base, as a wrap, as a crisp, as a cracker, as a cereal. There was an awful lot of potential for it that we both straight away struck upon. So I had a choice to make at the time. Do I carry on doing the consulting work that I was doing, or do I dive full time into this? And you take your chances. So I said, this is it, let's go for it. And I think at the time, Ben, he was thinking of going off traveling again, and we sat down. I said, look, I'm prepared to throw it all into this. How about you? And he's like, yeah, why not? So that was it, deal done.
So after myself and Rob had agreed to work together on this, it was only a few days. It seemed like a few days until Rob had got our first meeting. He'd managed to reach out and got us a meeting with one of the major players in the UK food industry.
At the time, it was taking us certainly 8 hours, sometimes longer, to make one piece of low dough. In my garage, the heat source that we had could only actually make 4 pieces at any one time. And so Ben had come up to mine, and we'd stay overnight, and it was like we were getting up to look after a newborn child of ours, because we'd be, okay, Ben, it's 2 a.m, it's your turn, can you get up and go and check on it? And he would do, and he'd come back in and he'd be soaking wet because this was maybe in the winter, and I'd be like, what's wrong, Ben? He'd go, we've lost them. And maybe the bake had gone wrong, and we were like, oh no, we've only got another 12 hours before we're going to see a potential investor. And it was all hands to it then. And so, I mean, those challenges, I guess it built into us the never say die attitude, because we've been told many times along the way that had we come from a food background, we probably wouldn't have continued with the journey, because we didn't know what wasn't possible. All we knew was that we had a great idea here, a great prototype, and we knew that if we could get this right and make it work, then we'd have a real chance to offer the market and to offer the consumer something that would really give them some healthier food choices.
And we came back to this kitchen and we stayed up all night pulling together prototypes for this meeting, the full range of every product we could think of to make the best possible impression. And we got up there the next day and we laid this spread out, and they literally told us this is the best invention they've seen since sliced bread. And or in their words, they said it was the best innovation they've seen in the bakery industry, which is pretty much sliced bread as far as we're concerned. So we were riding high, And we were really excited about this, and it was at this point we knew we had something really special on our hands.
This incredible journey then took us up to Scotland, down to the southwest, over to Europe, to universities, collaborating with other businesses to see if we could develop the machinery and develop the kind of processes that would allow us to make it on a commercial basis. And it also took us on an investor journey, and we were courted by a fair few folk that wanted to get involved with it, and I think we made a fantastic decision with our investor, a very entrepreneurial and commercially minded individual who really saw the potential for the product from day one, and that then really allowed us to accelerate the organoleptic development of the product. Cut forward now to 2021, where are we? Well, it's been an incredible journey, and the business is now a living, breathing thing in its own right, and we've got an amazing team of people in production, in e-commerce, in finance, in warehouse, in logistics, in dispatch. I'm ever so proud every time I look at the website now and I look at what's been created by the team, and whether it be a recipe or a blog or the new product launches that we have. We've got an incredible team of people that are passionate about food and passionate about health and also passionate about Lodo. And it's fantastic to be able to be on the journey with such a great team, and to be going to a new facility, a purpose-designed facility, which will help fuel our growth into international markets. So we are launching our European operation in the next couple of weeks. We've had approval for the FDA. And excitingly, we happened across an opportunity. We became aware that WPP were looking for challenger brands, challenger food brands and health brands to support a launch into China, of all places, for the 11/11 event, which is a massive shopping festival in China, run on the Alibaba and on the Tmall websites. And we'd had an eye on the Far East, and we knew that our product had global appeal, and we knew instinctively that its versatility should be able to carry itself across all types of consumer usage in various kitchens and meal times around the world. But we'd not actually specifically looked at China at this stage. But we ended up applying to this effectively competition to see whether we might get the chance to go to China. And 2 or 3 presentations later, and some meetings with WPP, with Alibaba, with Tmall, and we were, it was fantastic to hear that we'd been offered the opportunity to launch in China November this year, 11/11. The next 12 months, I pinch myself when I think about the excitement and the journey that we've got ahead. So we're going to China. That's fantastic. We're taking our product to China, and 3 years ago or 4 years ago, had someone said to me, and in 3-4 years time you'll be going to China, I would have said, no, come on, we're going to America, we're going to Europe. We've got a new 45,000 square foot facility. We are going to be launching a frozen pizza. We've got other amazing products in the pipeline. Really, really importantly to Ben and I is we're taking our team that have been so incredibly loyal and incredibly inspiring. They're coming with us on the journey because the new facility is literally 2 miles up the road. That's exciting for us. So what does the future hold? The future holds new products, new launches, building the team out, and giving ourselves the chance to continue to ideate new ideas and new products to help make the world a healthier